After I die, will I remember everything? A lot of people will say, when you're dead, you're dead. That's it. Science can't prove an afterlife, so case closed. But is it? Science is still discovering new things all the time, and dismissing the afterlife just because religion talks about it doesn't automatically make it nonsense. So the real question is this: if consciousness continues after death, do we continue? And if we do, after I die, will I remember everything? In this video, I'm looking at the question in the light of some unusual testimony of one who had extraordinary experience. In the 18th century, a Swedish philosopher and mystic named Emanuel Swedenborg made a staggering claim. He said for the last 27 years of his life, he had daily experiences of a hidden, non-physical dimension of reality, what he called the spiritual world, where dead people continued to live. And according to him, when the body dies, consciousness doesn't. You wake up and you're still you, fully aware, fully conscious, fully yourself. His books report on his experience of how, after we die, we carry personal memory with us. Not just a vague sense of who we are, not just our personality, but the recall of precise detail of what we had done years earlier. Conversations, thoughts, intentions. Imagine that for a moment. Nothing conveniently forgotten, nothing edited, nothing airbrushed. All this has been shown to him very many times from individuals with whom he had been acquainted during their lifetime. He said that when he had talked to them after their death, they had recollected every single thing which they had done while he was present, or which they had said and thought at the time. As I said, Swedenborg wrote about this 300 years ago. So, what about more recent information? In our century, those having had a near-death experience all reliably report something very similar. This, what people who were clinically close to death and then revived, often described with extraordinary clarity. They say things like, "Oh, still me, no confusion, no fading, no loss of identity." And many of them describe what's called a life review. Their entire life replayed, not slowly, but instantly, paranomically, all at once. Forgotten memories become vivid. And here's the striking part. They don't just relive what they did. They say they experienced how other people felt because of what they did. The pain they caused, the kindness they gave, the ripple effects. Apparently memory in these experiences isn't weaker, it's stronger, total. Now, of course, skeptics say it's just a stressed brain producing hallucinations. Maybe, but the consistency of these reports across cultures is very hard to ignore. Sometimes the truth needs to be known about oneself, even if one refuses to face up to it. Now, Swedenborg wrote that after their death, people who denied their wrongdoing had their actions drawn out of their own memory, step by step, from childhood to the end of their life. Affairs, deceptions, thefts, motives, malicious intentions, even things no one else ever knew. He quoted Jesus Christ, saying that nothing hidden will remain uncovered. Now, pause for a second. If that were true, what would that mean? Because remembering isn't about punishment, but it would prevent someone with criminal intent from being seen as blameless. I think it's also about self-awareness. How can we find genuine remorse if we don't face up to our selfish choices and take responsibility for them? If we have genuine remorse, it means we can move on spiritually. You may be wondering, but what about reincarnation? Yes, not all traditions agree about survival of individual memory after death. In classical Hindu philosophy, for example, you don't carry your autobiographical memory into the next life. You won't remember your name, your childhood, your home, not the particulars of your conduct. What is said to survive instead is your resulting karma, your deep character patterns, moral tendencies, your dominant desires. In other words, the story fades, but the person you've become remains. Interestingly, Swedenborg would have actually agreed with this. Although his experiences were not in line with reincarnation as such, he did, like the Hindu philosophers, discover there was something akin to karma. That was ultimately something determining our destiny after death. Now, these are the deepest things we have chosen to value and pursue in life, and our state of well-being apparently depends on this. So what continues is our inner life, and our earthly memories fade slowly from awareness. In other words, after we die, although at first we do remember life on earth, and that would be very useful, nevertheless, when no longer needed, this earthly memory slowly fades as we grow into our new life in the spirit realm. Swedenborg supplies several reasons why worldly memory fades from awareness after death. Because spiritual life, he claimed, operates on a deeper level, not based on worldly facts, not based on social status, not based on the outer story, but on inner character. We couldn't inwardly communicate with other human beings across history and culture if we were tied to our external past. If we clung to earthly memories, he said, we would not progress. We would remain stuck in the limitations of our old perspectives. So, perhaps memory is necessary at first for continuity, for honesty, for self-recognition, but eventually what matters most is who we have become. Of course, I can't prove any of this, but the idea is deeply embedded across cultures and religions. After death, we reap what we have sown. And here's the uncomfortable thought. If you were shown your life completely truthfully, would you recognize yourself? And would you be ready? Let me know what you think in the comments. Would memory continue? Or does everything simply switch off? And if it does continue, would that change how you live now, if you knew that? In this video, I've mentioned Swedenborg's testimony regarding the early stage of the afterlife, remembering one's life in the world, and how these personal memories resemble the life review of those with a near-death experience. I've touched on our need to face the truth about how we have behaved if our true character is to be acknowledged. Finally, I've spoken of the reason why worldly memory eventually fades, so we can fully progress in the life of whom we have inwardly become. Thanks for listening to me. If you've been interested, why not give me a like and offer a comment? It encourages YouTube to show this video to a wider audience. And if you are interested in my other videos on the afterlife, you can click the playlist link right now.